نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي ربي يسر ولا تؤسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح ربي زدني علما ربي هب لي حكما وألحقني بالصالحين ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار يا أول الأولين يا آخر الآخرين يا ذا القوة المتين يا رحم المساكين يا أرحم الراحمين حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل اللهم إنا نجعلك في نحورهم ونعوذ بك من شرورهم اللهم منزل الكتاب سريع الحساب اهزم الأحزاب اللهم اهزمهم وزلزلهم آمين يا أرحم الراحمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Once again, Alhamdulillah, by the grace and tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today we are going to talk about ayah number 169, 170 and 171 from Surah Al Imran, the third surah of the Quran. So we'll go over the recitation and the meaning first. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
ولا تحسبن الذين قتلوا في سبيل الله أمواتا بل أحياء عند ربهم يرزقون.
ولا تحسبن, and do not, wow is and, la, do not, tahsabanna, hasaba, to think or to have an assumption about something or to assume something, or so wala tahsabanna, all of you do not think, alladina, regarding those who qutilu, were killed, fi sabilillah, in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and do not think about those who are killed in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, amwata, as amwata is dead, that they are dead. Bal, no, rather, ahya'un, they are alive. Ha, ya is hay. Hay is for life. One of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also Al-Hayy, right? We say Al-Hayyu, Ya Hayyu, Ya Qayyum, right? So he is the ultimate, like he is the all living, always living. But Hayat is life. So Ahya'un, they are alive. Inda, near, Rabbihim. Rabbihim, their Lord. So they're alive. Where are they alive? They're alive near their Lord, with their Lord. Yurzaqun, they are given provision. So in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, never take those killed in the way of Allah as dead. Rather, they're alive with their Lord, well provided. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in ayah number 170,
فرحين بما آتاهم الله من فضله ويستبشرون بالذين لم يلحقوا بهم من خلفهم ألا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون.
Farihina, they are rejoicing, they are happy. Faraha is happiness, but it's the kind of happiness that is like very extreme happiness. You know, the kind of happiness when somebody's like really extremely happy. If you look at their face is lit up, their eyes are wide, and they're laughing with joy, sometimes even crying with joy. They're so happy and everything. So Farihina is a very extreme kind of joy. They are rejoicing, extremely happy. Bima, in what or with what? Atahumullah, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them, has bestowed upon them, min fadlihi, of his bounty. Fadl is a kind of favor that is more than what is deserved. So it's like, so for example, there is no example for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but just for the purpose of helping us understand. Let's say we go to a restaurant and we buy a meal or something, and the meal is we have to pay, let's say, a certain amount for it. So we pay that and we put something extra as a tip. Like that was not deserved, but that's something over and above. That's something extra, right? So that kind of something that is given which is, yes, there was certain reward for something, but then there was extra than that reward. So that extra is called fadl. That kind of blessing is called fadl, right? So it is like beyond what was deserved. So the extra blessings, basically. So they are rejoicing in, they're extremely happy with what was given to them by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of his bound, of his fadl. وَيَسْتَبْشِرُونَ, and they are given something else. They are given good news, glad tidings. Bashara, Bushra is good news, glad tidings, right? And وَيَسْتَبْشِرُونَ, and they are given glad tidings. Like it's a passive sense. They receive glad tidings, right? It's given to them. Billadina. And what are the good tidings? What are the good news that they're given? About those who lam yalhaqu, have not yet joined bihim, with them. Meaning those who are still in this world, they have not yet joined with them. So these people who are shuhada, who have passed away in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are alive with Allah. They are being provided by Allah, and they are so happy in the blessings that are being given by Allah, and they're given extra blessings, and they receive good news about those who have not yet joined them, min khalfihim, but are from those who are khalfihim, from behind, from those who are left behind, meaning those they have left behind in this world. They get good news about them, right? And what is the good news? That they will be basically joining them soon, right? They have not yet joined them, meaning they're going to join them soon. So they're told about that. Allah, that, and the other good news is Allah, la, Allah is made of two words, an and la. That and la is no. So that there is no khawf, there's no fear, alayhim, upon them, wala hum yahzanun, and they will not grieve, they will not have any sadness. So no fear and no sadness, right? That's what they have uh, been given the good news of, right? So in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying they are happy with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them of his grace, and they feel pleased with the good news about those who left behind them, who could not join them, that there shall be no fear for them, nor shall they grieve. Then ayah number 171. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
يستبشرون بنعمة من الله وفضل وأن الله لا يضيع أجر المؤمنين.
Yastabshiruna, they receive good tidings, good news, بِنِعْمَةٍ, of the favor, min Allahi, from Allah, wa fadlihi, and his bounty, and his extra blessings and everything, wa anna Allah, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, la yudi'u, he will not waste, yudi'u, to waste. La yudi'u, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not waste ajral mu'mineen, the reward. Ajr is the reward of al mu'mineen, the believers, those who have iman. So in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying they feel pleased with the blessing from Allah and grace, and with the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not let the reward of the believers be lost. So let's look at these ayah in a little bit more detail. So in this ayah, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the first ayah number 169, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, and do not think, never take those who are killed in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as dead. Rather, they are alive with their Lord, well provided. Right? So first thing is here, earlier we have been talking in this passage about the Battle of Uhud, and we've been talking about people, different kinds of people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been talking about different people, and different things have been talked about. So for example, the hypocrites were called out for their hypocrisy. There were others who were from the believers who were rebuked and then redeemed, that okay, their mistakes were told that okay, you did this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, and they were redeemed, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told that he has forgiven them and everything. And now another group is being talked about, and this is the group that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about, that he's extremely pleased with, and he's telling us about this group. So now in a way, the status of the shaheed is being told in these three ayahs that we are studying today, right? So till now there were mention of people who were saved in Uhud, who were not passed away in Uhud. They were basically of all the people who are living. Now the mention is about those who have passed away in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who have uh, uh, about whom people have been saying, like some hypocrites have been trying to spread this propaganda that, those people, if they had stayed with us, they would have been alive and everything. So, but they went and that's why they are not they're not alive and everything. So the hypocrites are trying to say all these things. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us now about the people who have passed away. Do not think about them as dead. Rather, they're alive. They're alive in a way that me and you don't know, but they're alive in a way. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us about that. There's also hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is narrated by Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. And in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said to the effect that when your brothers were killed at the Battle of Uhud, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put their spirits, their souls, in the bodies of green birds. And what happens to these green birds? They go down to the rivers of paradise, they eat its fruit, and then they go back in their in the lamps of gold. They go back and nestle in the lamps of gold which are hanging from the shade of the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they rest there. So basically throughout the day they are around in the rivers of paradise, and they're eating and drinking from there, from the provisions in Jannah. And then they go back and they rest in these golden lamps. And what kind of lamps are there, what kind of this is, we don't know, we can't know. But what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us through the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they go in this. And where are these lamps? That is the most important part, subhanallah. These lamps are hanging directly from the shade of the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And so and when these people, when these souls of those martyrs, the shaheed who have passed away, and those who are eating and drinking this fine food, and they're living in this beautiful abode, when they experience the sweetness of this food and drink and rest, they ask, right? They ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they say, Ya Allah, who will tell our brothers about us, that we are alive in paradise and we are being provided with this provision, and so that they might not get disinterested in jihad and recoil in war. Meaning, like, they're having so much hardships, they're feeling so much pain and hardship in that world, but we are in so much pleasure. Who will tell us? Like, we have passed away, we can't talk to them, obviously. So who will tell our brothers about the pleasures that we are having, about the things that we are experiencing and everything? And then to that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replied, I shall tell them about you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down this ayah. So it is said regarding this ayah, the Shani Nuzul, the revelation, the time of revelation, the context of revelation of this ayah was, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them, okay, I'm going to tell them about you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent this ayah that, and do not think about those who are killed in the path of Allah as dead, rather they're alive near their Lord, well provided, right? So, right, people are saying that, look at those people. If they had stayed with us, they wouldn't have died. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing us a totally different picture. He's saying, see what they're experiencing. What is the kind of beautiful hosting that they're experiencing? When we are a host for somebody we really, really love, comes to visit us, then we want to do everything really good. We want to have, like, we try our best to have, like, the house which is very clean, to give them good food, to make things convenient for them, to make things comfortable for them and everything. Here, these people, who are they the guests of? These people are the guests of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is hosting them, and He is taking care of them in a way that they are so pleased, that it's like, they are alive and they're being provided. All of us are being provided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but He's providing them a special kind of provision because He's very well pleased with them. Right? So what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us is that a martyr, a shaheed, a person who dies in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, despite dying, he doesn't really die, right? Because why? If one thing is because their purpose, their mission is still alive, right? And um, by their death, by giving up their life on the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the sake of the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does a person prove? Why do they have such a high status in our religion? And even anywhere we see, for any purpose, actually, if we see any cause, people regard their martyrs with a very high regard because they gave up their life for the mission, whatever the mission was, right? But for these people, the mission was the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They had said that La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. There is no God except worthy of worship except Allah. and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam um, is his messenger, and they lived their life for that. They made sacrifices in their life for that, to the point that they gave the biggest sacrifice, the sacrifice of their whole life, not just some moments of their life, not just some provision of their life, not just some money, not time, relationships, some pleasures, some taking on some pains, no, but their whole life itself, right? And by giving their life like this, they proved that they were true in the kalima that they had said, in the shahada that they had said. They proved it with their own shahada, right? So the testimony that they had said, la ilaha illallah muhammadur rasulullah, they proved it by giving their whole life for that, right? And this status, actually, this is a very high status in our deen, and it's not something that anybody just gets. A lot of people pray for it, like Umar radiallahu anhu, one of the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He used to pray for this. He used to say, ya Allah, grant me shahada. But he also wanted to pass away in Medina. Like, he wanted to be near the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? So he used to make these du'as, that ya Allah, I want to be, grant me shahada in your path, and grant me, that I'm near here. And his son used to say, oh father, how's that possible? Like, how would you get shahada? Because if you're going to pass away in Medina, that means that you're not going out for a war. That means you're here while the other army has gone out. And if then you pass away in Medina, but you don't get shahada. And if you go out to fight, that means you get shahada, but a person who's shaheed is buried wherever they pass away, right? So you won't be buried in Medina. So he was like, how is that possible? But subhanallah, when we see his life, we saw that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted him that. So one thing is that this is a status that is very few, not everybody gets to that status, right? Of shahada, of a martyr. And a person who gets to the status is a person who has actually lived their life of that too, right? A person who lives their life on the shahada will get the position of a martyr, will be given that position of everything, right? And so a few things here is that a person is alive. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that they're alive, but this means that they're alive in another realm, right? Like, in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're alive. Not that they're alive in this world. So what that means is, if a person passes away in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their wife um, has to get remarried. She can get remarried, because in terms of this life, the husband has passed away, so she's a widow, and after she finishes her iddah, she can get remarried. And in terms of this world, the person has passed away, yes, because in terms of this world, whatever wealth that person had will be distributed amongst the inheritors as per the rulings of how the inheritance should be distributed, right? So in terms of this world, yes, they have passed away, but in terms of the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in terms of a kind of life, they are still alive. There's also narration that one of the companions of the Prophet, Jabir radiallahu anhu, he was very young at that time, and his father, Abdullah, he was going to fight at Uhud. He was going with the army to fight at Uhud, and he told his son, Jabir, who was very young at that time, that, okay, I suspect that I won't be back from this battle. So and Abdullah had a lot of children. Jabir was one of them, but he had a lot of children, and basically a lot of girls, a lot of daughters, and Jabir was also there. So he told Jabir that I suspect I won't be back, and I have a lot of debt. So please pay my debt, and basically, if I'm not back, pay my debt and take care of your sisters, right? And when he went to this battle of Uhud, he was actually the first one to be martyred, right? And he was buried, and everything, uh, as a shaheed and everything. Jabir, when he used to remember his father and everything, his father's death and everything, he used to be very sad, right? Because he has so many younger brothers and sisters to take care of, and he missed the father a lot, because his father was a good man. His father was one who used to take care of all of them, and Jabir got a lot of responsibility on his shoulder when he was very young. So he used to miss him, right? And one day the Prophet ﷺ told him, "Oh Jabir, should I tell you a good news?" Right? And Jabir said, yes, of course, Ya Rasulullah. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, to the effect of, your father, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as soon as your father died in this world, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made him alive, right? And talked to him. right? And it is said that talk to him without this was a special instance in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked to him. And of course, this is another life, right? We're talking about not this life. Like in this term, in terms of this life, the body has passed away, the body will be buried and everything. But in another realm, like the person, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made them alive right away and talked to him and asked him that, okay, basically to the effect that I'm pleased with you, ask for something, ask for whatever you want. And what has your father asked for? The only thing that your father could think of to ask for, and your father is very pleased. Basically, the Prophet ﷺ is telling Jabir, your father is very pleased. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made him alive and asked him, ask for whatever you want to ask for, right? And then your father Abdullah, he said, Ya Allah, I want to go back and sacrifice myself one more time for you. I want to go back and sacrifice myself one more time for you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, that is not possible. But like, subhanallah, that shows us. And the reason that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala got this message to us through the blessed mouth of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is for Jabir radiallahu anhu and for all of us also, to realize that people who pass away on the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their only wish is they could do it all over again. Here we are mourning and being sad and everything for them. But for them, if they could do it all over again, in fact, they want to do it all over again because they want to give themselves up for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala one more time. And this also shows us a way of the beautiful way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to console Jabir radiallahu anhu and to change his thinking, to change the perspective, you know, and that's what the Quran does at times as well. That's what the Prophet ﷺ did again and again when he was interacting with people. He changed the perspective. Look at things from this side. Like we are looking at one, sometimes we are fixated on something from one angle. We're looking at something from one angle and it seems like bad and horrible and painful and it's hard. And there's no doubt it is. In a way, it is. There's no denying that. We are not, our religion does not teach us to be delusional. Yes, we are very realistic, but at the same time, it shows us the other side of the coin. It shows us the other side of it and shows us the other perspective that don't or people who you're mourning for, all your family members, all the friends and relatives that you have lost and everything, they are actually very happy. Don't be selfish in that yes, you want them with you, yes, you're missing them, but they are at a much better place than any of us, right? And usually we say that people, when we talk about Uhud, we say that at that time Uhud, so many people of the believers were killed, there was so much loss and everything. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is putting the message out for us in a very, very different way, right? What he's telling us is, the lesson for us is, a believer looks at things from a different perspective, not just one side, right? And it is said that the graves of Uhud, there was a time that the graves of Uhud had to be dug around 46 to 47 years after the Battle of Uhud. And what it was found was that their bodies were intact. Like usually when bodies are buried after some time, if the graves are dug, the bodies have decomposed and everything. But what it was found was that their bodies were as if they were just asleep and not dead. And Jabir radiallahu anhu's father's radiallahu anhu, his hand was on his wound, right? And he was like it was like you look at them and you would think that they're just asleep, right? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that those people who are in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who go in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, don't think they are in any loss, nor think that, at the same time, don't think they're alive in a way that sometimes what some people have done around the world, and may Allah ta'ala protect us from that, is they start, they start praying to those people. Now, the difference is when we are near any graves, or when we pass by anybody, or when we go to see, let's say when we go to the to Medina, and when we go for ziyarah to the place at the where the Battle of Uhud happened, and we see and we visit the graves of those people, of the martyrs of Uhud, which are still there, like we see the graves of Hamza radiallahu anhu and all these other people there. What we do is we pray for them, we pray to Allah for them, we never pray to them, right? Because in the sense of this world, those people are dead in the sense of this world, they cannot give us anything, right? They cannot fulfill any of our needs, because that if we a lot of places people have fallen into grave worship. May Allah Ta'ala protect, a'udhu billah. Like people start and shaitan has the same tactics over the history of mankind, right? So he kind of says, okay, these people were so good. Yes, they were so good, they have a high status, yes, but they are being provided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They cannot provide for me and you. Right? So the people who the only one who provides the razik for me and you is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He provides for us and he is providing for them. The people who are dead, they cannot provide for us, right? So we are, although we see the very high status of the shaheed, we have to still always remember any human being or any creation of Allah for that matter. They, if they get a very high status, the status can go higher and higher and higher and higher. No matter if they reach even the highest possible status, they will still be an abd, and Rabb is still the Rabb. Right? Even if the servant goes, there's a saying that even if the servant goes to the highest heaven, meaning when the Prophet ﷺ went for Miraj, he went to the highest heaven. Even if the servant goes to the highest heaven, he's still a servant. He's still a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And even if the Lord, the creator of the heavens and the universe, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he comes to the lowest heaven, and we know that from a hadith that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes to the lowest heaven in the last third of the night, every night, and he asks us, who is there to ask for anything and I'll give it to them? Who is there who wants to seek forgiveness and I'll give it to them? Right? He comes and he asks us, and he makes this like this open invitation to all of us to pray at that time in the last thirds of the night and ask him. And but even if he comes to the lowest heaven, Rabb is still the Rabb, right? So there is something that can never change in our religion, which is the status of a Rabb is that of a Rabb. Subhanallah. When we say Subhan Allah, that means his status will always be at that high level. No, it can never come down. Right? And all of any human being status, whether even if it's a martyr, their status might go up and up and up and high and high and high. Yet it will always be the status of one of the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So there is in Islam, there is no concept of that the souls come back and the souls or the spirits come back and they go around the homes or something, or they come to check back on us, or if they have there is no concept in our deen that the souls or the spirits come back to this world and roam around in this world. Right? Yes, there are souls. Yes, the souls have an eternal life. Yes, they are taken above to see in the heavens. Like once somebody has passed away, if they're meant for heaven, if their life was good, they were believers and they did good deeds, they obeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then what they're taken up, they're shown their place in the heaven, and they are then brought back and then put in their place of rest. As we can think of it is as kind of a sleep, right? Like just like we are in a sleep, they're put there. They're not free to roam around in this world. Similarly, those people who did not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or they did nasty things in their life, they disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they did bad things, their souls are taken and snatched and taken, and they're shown their place in the hellfire, and then they're put back, and then their life of barzakh starts, right? And the things that happen and everything, like there is some punishments of the grave and everything which are also talked about, but they are again even those spirits, and they don't roam around in this world. So we don't, in our deen, we don't take blessings, we don't say things like our ancestors have blessed us, or it is we need to seek the blessings of our ancestors for they are watching over us, and things like they are there for us, or it is because of them that we are doing this. We don't say all of that. Rather, from the Quran and the Hadith, we get that yes, there is a life, but it is different kind of life. It's not that they can make any decisions for us, they can provide for us, or we need to worship them, or anything in that sense, right? They are alive, right? And but they're not alive here, and they are alive. These people who are martyrs, they're alive with their Lord. Now, this is so beautiful that it's like for a believer, that's the ultimate of pleasure, right? They're alive, but where are they alive? Inda Rabbihim. They're alive with their Lord. And throughout our life, we strive for, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for Firdaus al-Ala, Jannatul Firdaus, and the company of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why do we ask for Jannatul Firdaus? There are many levels in Jannah. The highest level is Jannatul Firdaus. But the Prophet ﷺ told us that when you ask for Jannah, when you pray for paradise, when you ask Allah, like, Ya Allah, give me paradise, we ask for the highest level, ask for Firdaus. Why? Because Firdaus is nearest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We want to be near Him, right? We want to be close to Him. And and these people who have been killed in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are alive with Allah. They are they are where we all ask to be, where we all strive to be throughout our life. We want to be, we want the ultimate of this life to be this. We want to lead this life in a way that we end up with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What better place could there be? Whose company could be better than the company of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And these people, if anybody has the company of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who else's company would they choose over the company of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And then, right? So anybody who has who has the company of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will choose his company over mine or yours anytime, right? Anytime, no matter their friends or family might have been the most loving, the caring of this world that can offer, but they have the company of Allah, right? They that's what they wanted, right? So and how are they alive? We can't really understand their life because it's a different kind of life. So we haven't seen it. It's from the unseen, from the matters of the unseen. We can't totally understand it, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us some glimpses of it, right? So we don't, in our deen, what happens is regarding the matters of unseen, we don't use our own imaginations. We don't, because we can't perceive it, but we take what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us. We take what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us, and we say, okay, this is what He told us. So this is what it is. How it is, we can't really understand the total thing of it because it is beyond our imagination, because it's just not in our imagination. And for these people who are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they are, uh, they are being provided. Now, the thing is, in this life, a believer, the life of this believer, a person who believes, the life of a believer is that throughout their life, they're holding back, right? Because we learned about the concept of taqwa. The throughout our life, we are holding back. Like we get up when we feel like sleeping. When we are fasting, we eat when we don't feel like eating in the morning. Then when we feel hungry, we don't eat, right? Then we eat at the time of iftar, and we think we will eat so much, but we eat a little bit and we feel full, because even if it is the most favorite foods, we can't eat too much because we've been hungry for so long. And then we have to when we want to just, okay, now we've eaten and we want to sleep, no, we stand up and we pray extra. We pray Tarawih, in fact, right? We pray a lot more extra. So throughout this life, if someone feels like looking at something, they wouldn't look at that. If they got their hard-earned money, and they'll give sadaqah from that, right? So whatever, they keep holding back. A believer keeps holding back in this life, right? But now, and now that they are with their Rabb and they're being provided by their Rabb, now there is no more holding back. Now no more holding back as they did in this life. Now they get whatever they want, right? And they're better off than me and you. They're better off than all of you. So all the people who are mourning their family members who have passed away at Uhud, at that time they're being told those people are better off than you right now. Rather, you should actually, rather than feeling sad about them, you should actually be envious of them. You should be like, they are with Allah and they're being provided by Allah, right? So and in a way that, the Prophet ﷺ told Jabir radiallahu anhu that, when your father's when your father's body was picked up, then angels were like shading, providing shade for him and everything, right? So it's like a kind of status that we cannot imagine, but it is such a status that we look up to, right? So and when we know, and how is it so much a consolation for people who are here, who are mourning for the death of, and yes, when somebody passes away, it is natural to be sad, it is natural to be upset, it is natural to miss them. Our religion never teaches us that we disregard our emotions. Yes, we do feel all of that, but when we know that, let's say, let's say a mother, a child, a son has gone somewhere during the day, or let's say they've traveled to another place, but we know that they have gone for a really good cause or a good place, and they're being very well taken care of there, right? Then even if it is we miss them, it becomes a bit easier to bear to know that okay, they're being very well taken care of, much more than what I could do for them. They're being taken care of way more than that. That it makes us kind of like happy and like okay, they're in a good place, right? So so what we are being told is that by telling us this, that they're with your Lord and they're being well provided, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is like making it like showing the believers another perspective and making it easy for them to handle the loss that they are feeling, right? And all the other believers also, we are taken up and we are shown our place in Jannah, but we don't enter the Jannah. The difference is the shuhada, the martyrs, their souls actually enter the Jannah, right? In even in the time of barzakh, even before the day of judgment, right? And there are people who given the status of shaheed, of martyrs, who pass away in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we know also from a hadith there's some other people who also get this status. And who are these people? One, a person who dies in a time of epidemic, or like an illness that breaks out, or like which is an epidemic that surrounds the whole region, or everything, and that a town that goes around, and people die in that sickness while they're believers, then those people also get a status of shaheed. Another person who gets a status of a shaheed while they're a believer, if they pass away while they're a believer, if they die by being burnt, there's a fire, and they are burnt in the fire and they pass away in that while they were a believer, then they also get a status of a shaheed. Another person who gets the status of a shaheed is a pregnant lady who was going to give birth to a child. Like she was a Muslim and she was going to give birth to a child who is going to be an ummati of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who's going to be a Muslim. Basically, and at the time of childbirth, she passes away, then she also gets the status of a shaheed. Another person who gets the status of a shaheed is somebody who is trying to protect their life, their wealth, their deen, their family members, and everything, and what is theirs, what belongs to them. They were trying to protect that, their homes, their wealth, their health, their family members, and they're trying to protect all of that. And while protecting all of that, they were killed, right? Then they also get the status of shaheed, as long as they were believers, as long as they believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And obviously those who die in a state of a war, in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they have much higher ranks, right? So what does martyrdom do? What does being a shaheed do? It is a guarantee for eternal life, right? It's a guarantee because death, in a worldly sense, death has come to them, right? But that death has affected their bodies, not their souls. Their souls are getting a special kind of life in the next world, a kind of life which is so full of happiness and contentment that we cannot imagine it in this world, right? So this is also, at the same time, this is also warning that is being given out to the hypocrites, that don't regard those who die striving in the cause of Allah to be dead. In fact, the hypocrites are the ones who are dead, not the martyrs, right? Because the hypocrites, what they were doing is due to their ignorance, and they were mourning the passing away of the people from their own families, yes, because in a worldly sense they loved each other. It's not that they hated each other just because somebody became a believer, they didn't love each other. No, they they didn't um, they didn't believe in iman from their hearts, but they were like, okay, these people should have just stayed with us. It was a propaganda, but some also in a worldly sense cared about those people, right? So they were mourning in a way of passing away of their family members and their friends and everything. They were, at the same time, they were also pitying them for being killed, and they were saying all these things that if they would have been alive, if they would have been with us, right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, you are gravely mistaken. The martyrs are not dead, they are actually happy, and they are continuously receiving good news about different things that we learn about in the next ayah, right? They're continuously hearing good news, right? Regarding this ayah, there's also another narration that it is reported on the authority of Sayyid bin Jubair, radiallahu anhu, that he said, when Hamza bin Abdul Muttalib, radiallahu anhu, and Musab bin Umair, radiallahu anhu, they were killed on the day of Uhud, and they saw what goodness they had been blessed with, they said, If only our brothers in faith knew what goodness we have been blessed with, then this might increase their desire, this might increase in them their desire for jihad. This might increase in them their desire for jihad if they could see the goodness that we have been blessed with. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this these three ayat, and think of those, do not think of those who are killed in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as dead, up till the end of ayah number 171, and Allah will not waste the reward of the believers. Right? And Abu ad-Duha said regarding this ayah number 169, this was revealed specially concerning the people of Uhud. And a number of scholars of the Seer have also said that these ayat were revealed concerning the martyrs of Mauna. Right? There was another incident that happened in the life of the Prophet ﷺ. And that story, we'll talk about it another time, but that story was mentioned by Muhammad bin Ishaq Yasar in the book Al-Maghazi, meaning the battles that have been fought, right? So one question that comes up with this is that, okay, barzakh is the kind of like, and what is barzakh? Barzakh is basically the time between a person dies in this world and then before the day of judgment starts. So this time period of a person passing away until the time of day of judgment is called the life of barzakh, right? And we know in our deen, we are told that there is a life of barzakh. There's a kind of life for everybody that we don't know about, right? And we know that that kind of life is pleasant for the believers and it's a punishment for the disbelievers, even that life before the day of judgment even starts. So there is a kind of life for everyone. So what is so special about this life of the shaheed that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that they're alive, right? Especially alive. One is because they are being blessed with the rizq from Jannah. They're being provided by the rizq from Jannah, and the rizq, something, a provision, is needed by, and it's given to somebody who is living, right? So in a way, they're living because their rizq starts immediately after a shaheed leaves the frame of this life in the mortal world. Right away, they enter into a special type of life that is from that point of time onwards, they enter into this special life. And this special life has a distinct status from the other people, from the other people who are dead in our common experience. Although anybody who dies has a kind of life, but the life of these people who are shaheed is a special kind of life. And the reality of this, the full reality of this life, is unknown to all of us except to the creator of the universe, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sometimes what happens is because of this special life that they have, the effect of this special life that they have will show up on the bodies of the people who are buried in this world. Like we talked about the people who were buried and their bodies were looked at after 45, 47 years, and their bodies were just intact. And many a times, even today, we hear about these reports that something was dug up and they found the bodies to be intact, and like not disintegrated at all, right? And there are other very scary stories also that we hear about different bodies. May Allah Ta'ala protect us, and in this life as well as the next, right? And so these people are buried in the earth, but still the portion of the earth, it doesn't eat them sometimes, and we see that effect also, that it leaves them good and intact, right? We see those, we have seen those, and we keep seeing those things even today. Even up till today, we see those things, right? So they are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're being well provided. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَفَرِحِينَ بِمَا آتَاهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ. Right? They're happy with what, and it's a continuation from the previous ayah. It's continuing. So we can think of 169 and 170 is like one sentence. It's broken up into these two ayah. So they're happy with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them of his grace, and they feel pleased with the good news about those left behind whom could not join them yet, that there shall be no fear for them, nor shall they grieve. Right? So one is, like we said, farihin. Faraha is happiness at its extreme, right? It's like a person is laughing and even crying out of joy. It's so much joy. And generally, in this world, the state of being farihin is actually not very light. Like it's like we can think of it as constant kind of happiness. Like when somebody seeks that in this life, what happens is that how it manifests sometimes is you're seeking one thrill after the other. You just want to be in that state of the happiness all the time. And we see people in this world, and a lot of psychologists actually have said, not even from a Islamic perspective, even otherwise, A lot of psychologists have actually done this research and come to the similar conclusion, is that pursuit of happiness in this world can never be complete. You know, anything that, for example, so if you think about it, anything that we are overjoyed about in this world, it's momentary. It passes away. Like somebody graduates, we are so happy. Yes, you graduated. You graduated high school. Oh my God, amazing. You're partying. You're this that. The next day you said, okay. Some people more come and say, you graduated yesterday. It was so good. Like, yeah, it was good. It was not. It will not be as thrilling as the day they graduated, but the second day, yeah, it is be good. 1 week later, oh yeah, you graduated. That's fine. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, like 1 month later, 1 year later, yes, you graduated. Okay, I graduated. Yeah, 2 years later, graduated. Oh, but I still don't have a job, right? And so it's like what seems like a very big deal at one point, it does not seem that big a deal as time goes by. Anything that we are overjoyed about in this world, no matter what it is, whether it's a marriage, like the husband and wife, they're so happy in the beginning and everything feels like this is it in life. Everything is just revolves around this and everything. Yeah, 20 years later, 25 years later, 30 years later, yes, we're happy with each other, but it's not that how it used to be. It's not that kind of thrilling, those that overjoyed, that extreme happiness kind of, it's not that feeling anymore, right? So anything, we buy a new house, we buy a new car, we get a new job, we get certain promotion, anything that we are seeking for the sake of happiness, any thrill, that any extreme sports that a person engages in, right? And anything that we have of this life, if we look at it, whether it's being blessed by a child, a marriage, any kind of happiness that we think, it's all momentary, right? And it fades a little. It's not as strong as it goes on. While in Jannah, what happens is it's lasting and it's extreme. It's whatever happiness we can think of in this world, there's much more with Allah, and it's much more lasting. Any kind of happiness that we experience in this world, it's much more and it is lasting, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said they're rejoicing in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed upon them from His bounty, from His fadl. It was not something that, yes, they did a lot, they deserved a lot, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not just give them what they deserve. As opposed to, if we think about wherever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about a punishment for people. And subhanAllah, this is such a mercy of our Rabb. If we only think and contemplate about the mercy of our Lord, our Rabb, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He talks about punishment for somebody, anybody does wrong, they are not punished beyond what they have done. Their punishment is exactly depending on what their crimes were. But when he deals with people who have done good, he gives them more than what they deserve. He always gives them more than what they deserve. He gives them extra. He gives them from his fadl. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those who receive from his fadl. Right? And so these people, and they get good news. What is the good news that they're getting? They get good news about those who are still alive in this world, who are still on this, who are on the same path as them, who are on the same mission as them. And the people who are shuhada, the people who are martyrs, they're happy for their loved ones, that they're going to meet them. They're going to meet them later. And we can think of another, we realize of another quality of these people, that they have such open hearts. They're not jealous kind of people. They're not like, okay, whatever I have got, okay, this is for me. I don't want this to be anybody else. This is my status. It's not like that. These people, like it's like when they go and meet each other, it's like they enjoy. They're like a team rooting for each other. They're a team, like taking care of each other, rooting for each other. It's like one body. They want the rest of them to be there. And As-Suyuti says that a shaheed is informed beforehand when a friend or a relative is about to die. When somebody's about to die, when their friend or relative who's on the same path of them as them, they're about to die and join them, then a shaheed is informed about it. And they get really happy by this news, because it's almost like a loved one is coming back. Somebody lives very far, some relative lives really far, some brother, some sister, some family member lives really far, and they're coming to meet us after a very long time. Then we get so happy, like we're going to meet them. And now that they are there, they're given this good news, they're coming to meet you, and you'll never be separated ever again. You'll never have to say any goodbyes ever again. You are in this status, you are getting so much, and so will your loved one. They will also get so much. They will also be pleased. They will also get rizq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So they get really, really happy with that. Because any happiness, if we think of any happiness, we get something like, even something really small, as we get to eat something, let's say really, really good food. We want like our family members to eat it too. We're like, let me save a little bit for them, like let me save a little bit for my children, let me save a little bit for my husband, let me save a little bit for my sister. I hope somebody else could eat it too. Like I want them to eat it too, right? When we are in Jannah, inshallah, inshallah, may Allah Ta'ala make us of those people. May Allah make us of the people of Jannah, of paradise, of the highest level of paradise, right? That when we are there and we receive the good news of the other people who are going to come and join us, we get so happy. We get so happy that they're going to come and meet us. And this is a quality of the mukhlis, of the people who are ikhlas, that they are happy with the good deeds of other people. Even in this world, we will see one of the signs of people who are good inside, that they're inherently good, is when they see other people doing good deeds, they don't feel jealous. Rather, they feel happy. They feel, yes, yes. Yes, my fellow sister. Yes, my fellow brother. Go ahead. You're doing good. You're doing. It makes them happy to see other people doing good and getting, inshallah, working on the path towards getting the pleasure of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Right. So the souls of these martyrs, they are happy on receiving these unlimited bounties and honor in the life of Barzakh, and their happiness increases further when they are told by the thought that those other righteous people who are left behind in the world are soon going to come and meet them. And for them, there is no fear and no grief. Right? And what does it mean by la khawfun alayhim wa lahum yahzanun, right? That there will be no fear on them and no sadness. Now, when we think of any human emotions that trouble us, the root of them goes back to these two things, khawf and huzn, right? Khawf is fear, and anything related to the future, we have a fear, right? Okay, I'm going to move to this new place. I don't know how it will be, right? I don't know if I'll be a loser in my life, or will I do be some kind of success? Will I achieve something in my life, or will I be like just looked at as somebody who has done nothing in my life? Will I impact people positively? Will I be able to retain my faith, right? Will I become shaky in my faith, or will I become stronger in my faith? Will my children be good, or will I any of my loved ones, will I lose them? How will be my health going on? And there's always some fear of future that is there in us, and this sadness about the past. Sometimes some things have happened in our past, then when we look at them, or when we remember them, or if somebody mentions that this happened and in this year or something, all the memories and all the emotional part of it just comes back alive. It's almost like we are reliving that, right? We get as upset as it was just happening right now, right? And if we think of this life, and every single day we have some level of these. Every single day it's like there's some dark clouds over us, right? um uh, like some kind of sadness at some level, whether it is less or more, some kind of sadness about some things in the past, and some kind of fear, some kind of anxiety about something in the future. Something is always there, a little bit, right? But they will completely go away in the for the shuhada. Not at all, right? They will not be depressed or sad or upset about anything in their life that has happened, or any of its events, right? Today we look back at some things like, oh my god, this was not so good. But when they look back, they will see everything was good, but they will actually see it. There was khair in everything. They will not be depressed or sad or upset about any single moment of their life, right? May Allah Ta'ala grant us that kind of conviction in this life itself, that we don't look back at any of the events, even when they were painful. We look back at them and we say, "Ya Allah, I don't see it yet, but I know you will make me see it one day, and I know there is khair in it, because you are my Rabb, and you will not do for me anything except which has khair in it." Also, at the same time, they're not fearful of the consequence. They have no, they have no fear of the future, meaning they have no, even if they did something wrong in this life, they know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forgiven them. They have Jannah. They have the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are not fearful anymore of the consequences of their sins, of their mistakes, or what is going to happen in the future, right? What excites them at the same time is about others who are going to join them. And what excites them about the people who are going to join them is not just like, yes, in Jannah they have a lot of pleasures. Everybody in Jannah will have, in paradise, has so much pleasures, like a few food that you don't, that just get digested. And even if you burp, it's like the burp of like the fragrance of musk. You don't need to use the washrooms. You don't need to like the food doesn't need that kind of digestion as in this. It doesn't need to any digestive issues. Everything is just digested. You eat and drink whatever you like as much as you like. There's no such thing as hunger. You eat for pleasure. You drink for pleasure. There's no such thing as need for sleep. You sit and lie down for pleasure when you feel like it. Right. The homes in Jannah are the most beautiful. Right. And there are like the pleasure, the spouses in Jannah is like when you look at each other, you'll keep staring at each other for 40 years, like how beautiful you feel to each other. You look to each other, right? And their behaviors of each other, our akhlaq, our manners with each other, our respect for each other would be so beautiful that, we would be so pleased that like, oh, we'll have the perfect behavior with each other. We won't irritate each other at all. We won't be upset with each other at all. Yet there are so many pleasures and everything. But here, Allah SWT is not mentioning all of them. What are they being pleased by? What Allah SWT especially mentioned here is that, the things that used to wear you out in this world of fear and sadness, they do wear us out sometimes. Sometimes we have so much sadness or so much fear that just feel like you have no energy left, right? Those things will no longer exist in Jannah, right? They now experience a happiness which is extreme and which is lasting, right? And in this life, we have sometimes we have a lot of fear and sadness, and we try to like shove it away. Sometimes we try to like, okay, I need a break. Okay, this is too much now. I need a break. So sometimes what we'll do is we'll watch a movie, or we go for a walk, or we go out with friends, or we talk to someone, or some people even resort to some unhealthy addictions, like somebody would just shop, you say like the retail therapy or something, or somebody would just get into other unhealthy addictions. How do we protect us from any kind of substance abuses or any kind of things that harm us and everything, or any addiction for that matter, right? But even when somebody goes to these things, right, the matter that was troubling them is still lingering somewhere at the back of their heads. If somebody has an upset, has like a certain situation at their home where people are not happy with each other, where there's some domestic situation going on, even if they go out and everything, they try to push it away from a moment. It's still somewhere at the back of their mind, right? Um, and some people we see that in terms of worldly sense, when we look at them, we feel like they have everything. They have all the money, they have all the power, they're doing their vacations in the best of spots. We look at their pictures and like, I would give anything to be in their place and everything. And yet, what we find out after some time, they committed suicide. They were not happy with themselves. And then we're like, okay, what was wrong? Why were they not happy? In terms of they had the best looking spouse, they had all the money, they had all the power, they could get whatever they want, they don't have any of the struggles that I have, then why were they not happy? Okay? Because everyone has some fear and some sadness in this life. We try to push it away with this or that, but we can never totally push it away, right? Because what happens is we can change our environment, we can change our company, we can change our foods, but we cannot control our emotions. We have to deal with them, right? Our deen teaches us that our deen does not actually blame us for our emotions, right? Our emotions are something that are there, but it tells us that we need to deal with them. We need to deal with them and utilize them in a way that is beneficial for us and not in a way that is harmful for us, right? But in Jannah, what will happen is the people who are shuhada, the people who are martyrs, they will experience a kind of joy that there is no fear or sadness of any kind left on them anymore. And they're experiencing this extreme happiness that is not possible in this world, a lasting happiness that is not possible in this world. At the same time, they're excited for others to experience this kind of happiness that, when you come here, and again, we cannot imagine that, but for them, they are experiencing it and they want others to experience it, that you eat and drink and enjoy and spend time with your loved ones and party in a way that is no lingering fear or sadness at the back of your mind about anything, right? So that's the kind of, so any pleasure that they enjoy becomes more complete because there's nothing else going in their mind, at the back of their mind, nothing troubling them at the back of their mind about anything. Like in this world, we don't have complete happiness or complete sadness, right? We always have some things troubling us or something at the back of mind. Yes, my relationship with my brother or my sister is so good and everything, but something about my workplace is still bothering me, or something about like this is bothering me. So there's always something, right? But there'll be nothing. It's only pleasure. So even when somebody's eating, they will be able to enjoy their eating so much more because there's nothing troubling them about anything else in life, right? And this is a special blessing about the martyrs and the truthful, that all their believing children, all their believing family and friends, they will be brought back together with them in paradise. In um, to And this bringing together of our loved ones, for the martyrs, that the people who have passed away in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're enjoying all these blessings, but they will also get these their other people who were believing in their family and friends, they will be brought back to them, and this bringing together will perfect their sense of happiness even more. Their sense of happiness will become even more with this, right? And when people will be brought together in Jannah, their ranks will not be lowered for each other. Actually, their ranks will be raised to meet each other. So if somebody ends up in a rank of Jannah which is less, the other person who has a higher rank will not come down to meet them, but these, they will go up, they'll be elevated to meet them. So it's like, if somebody, even if somebody else that we know of, um, goes to a rank higher than us, that we love, goes to a rank higher than us, they will be pleased for each other. There's no jealousy there, because we will be helping each other get to higher and higher levels. Not nobody will be pulling each other down. Everybody will be elevating each other in Jannah, right? So it's like so many pleasures Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in these two ayat. If we see that, one, it is that they have a perennial life. Their life is something that is not ending. They have they have a life which is ongoing. You cannot call them as dead, right? Then they are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then the third, they're being provided a risk from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're eating and drinking from the pleasures of Jannah, of the paradise, while others are not yet. Others see it, but they don't enter it. They get to enter it. Fourth, they're extremely happy with Allah's blessings and grace, a kind of happiness that is not possible in this world. Fifth, they get the good news about their good loved ones, that our loved ones, they're going to join us. In fact, they're informed when somebody's about to join them. So they're already anticipating, oh, this one's coming. Yes, this one's coming. You're going to meet them, right? And then they have no sadness nor fear, right? That's also another good news, right? And then in the next ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us they feel pleased with the blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and grace, and with the fact that Allah would not let the reward of the believers be lost. Right? So in this ayah, some scholars have said that this is reinforcing what was just said. It's reinforcing what was just said, that it's the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they get the favors and the bounty and the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some other scholars, however, have also said another perspective now, that this now is talking about the believers that are left behind here. So earlier in 69 and 70, we were talking about the shuhada, the martyrs who have passed away in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But now we are talking about the believers who are left here, the believers who are mourning the passing away of their loved ones, but they are on the right path. They are the believers and everything, right? So if we look at it from that perspective, we'll see that, if we look at some other faith traditions in this world, like for example, the Christian worldview, for example, is that this world is just misery and pain. This world is just misery and pain, and joy is only in the afterlife, right? But this is actually not the Islamic paradigm. Islamic paradigm is like, yes, we have difficulties and suffering in this world. There are hardships in this world, but it would be ungrateful to say that there are no pleasures, no blessings, no tranquility in this life. There are certain pleasures in this life that we enjoy. There's certain blessings that we enjoy. There's certain tranquility that we enjoy, right? There are certain things that we do enjoy in this world as well, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that He, like the people here, even we are, so the people who are left here, even they are, they receive glad tidings of favor and bounty from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not let the reward of the believers go to waste. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps our amal, our deeds that we do, our good deeds that we do, He preserves them for what? For on the day of judgment, when He will hold the court. He will hold the court, and everybody will be accountable for what they did, right? And if we ourselves, lose those rewards and ruin that for ourselves, then it's the other thing. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not let it go to waste. He preserves that, right? And if we look at just the shuhada, if you're looking for the perspective of the shuhada, the martyrs, there's so many other rewards that we are told to hadith, from different hadith of the sayings of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We know so many other things as well. Like for example, when the first drop of blood of a martyr falls on the ground, With that drop of blood, the first drop of blood falling to the ground, all their sins are forgiven. All their sins are forgiven. They are shown their abode in Jannah. They're given the clothing of Iman, right? There are they get saved from the azab of the grave. They don't they save from that. They are saved from the fear at the time of the day of judgment. That anxiety, the thing on the day of judgment that everybody, the whole mankind will experience. The martyrs will not experience that. They will have the crown of Waqar on their heads, right? The crown on of a car of tranquility, of peace on their heads. One jewel of that crown is better than all that is on the earth. One jewel of that crown is better than all of the the wealth that is there on this earth combined. One jewel will be more of that, and there'll be many jewels in their crown, right? And they, another narration says that they can make shafa. They will be able to basically give a good testimony for 70 of their family members on that day when the court will be held, then the day on the day of judgment, right? So if we think from the perspective of the Battle of Uhud, what is happening, like if you think what is happening right now, people, the believers of that time, the Muslims who are there now after the Uhud is over, and the believers are there with the Prophet ﷺ, these people, these Sahabas, these companions, radiallahu anhum ajma'in, they have just faced a lot of losses, personal losses, emotional losses, political losses, financial losses, spiritual losses, military losses. Like they have been rebuked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're mourning all of this. They're mourning the death of their family members, but they're also mourning all these other losses at the same time. Now, in the middle of all this chaos, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that come down, these words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are the reason for them to be overjoyed. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us another perspective to the life of a believer. In the middle of all that chaos, sometimes the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala come and they give a peace and joy to a believer that nothing else can. Situation seems hopeless to everybody else. Anybody else looking from outside sees like this, nothing could be worse than this. What a horrible situation these people are in. But in those people, like the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala console them. They come to their heart and they give them the good news like nothing else does, right? And what all gives them happiness? It gives them happiness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided to speak to us. He knows our condition. He's telling us about, he knows our condition and he's telling us about the condition of our loved ones and ourselves. He knows exactly what is going on in our hearts and our minds, right? He has offered, and they were happy that he offered us redemption. He told us in the previous ayat that yes, we did mistakes. He did call out our mistakes, but he also told us that he has forgiven us, right? And he's giving us good news about those that we are mourning, those that have passed away from amongst us. He's telling us what the pleasures that they are in. All these things, all these things are giving joy to a believer. And moreover, if you really think about it, amongst all this chaos, a believer looks at it slightly differently. A believer looks at it and says, maybe I needed to go through all this chaos. Maybe I needed to go through all this chaos so that the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that come after, they could come to life in my heart, so that I could relate to them better, so that I could attach myself to them better, so that I could feel them better, right? So a believer, then even when something happens, something traumatic happens, something hard happens, and then the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala consoles a believer, then a believer looks back at those hardships that have happened and is like, that hardship made me connect to these words of Allah better. So that was the biggest khair in that hardship. That hardship then becomes a blessing, right? So one of and then also one of the most important teachings of the Quran that is told here as well is وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُضِيعُ أَجْرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, that Allah will not put to waste the compensation of those who truly have faith. Not just good deeds, but faith, right? Not just salah, but a salah with faith, right? Now, we might be facing, any of us, and that the lesson goes for all of us. The lesson was for them, but by extension, it is for all of us, that we might be facing certain losses in our life. But no matter what losses I am facing or you're facing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward all our struggles if we have faith. all our struggles, if we had left home, if we did something wrong and repented, if we came to the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we are bearing people looking at us funny, if we are looking at people like, if we do hijab and go outside and people like, okay, what old-fashioned person this is. Oh, like her hair are all tied up and everything. Like she doesn't even know how to dress up, or somebody's making fun of whatever we are doing and everything, right? No matter what we do, no matter what we face, no matter what everything we do, but none of our struggles are lost when they are in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He never lets it go to waste. That's His promise. He will never let go to waste the reward of the believers. If you look at the people in this world, people are interested in accomplishments, but not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People, when we look at each other, when people look at each other, they look at each other in the sense of, okay, what are the qualifications, what are the degree, how much money somebody has, how good looking somebody is, what are their figures, how much weight loss they did in this certain time, what is their following, what is their number of followers on social media, how popular they are in their friend circle, how much a life of the party they are told and everything. Like we look at different things, but in terms of accomplishment, what is the end of that, and what is this? How much, what a position in they have in their career. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not look at any of it. He does not look at our accomplishments. Rather, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala look at? He looks at our faith, and He looks at our striving for His pleasure. So when some things happen, we do something for the sake of Allah and nothing works out. Nothing works out the way we thought or we planned. Then it is easy to think, you know what? I was doing this thing. I'm trying to help these people, but the situation is so bad. I don't know where to start. I don't know if whatever I'm doing is even making any difference. I know the need is for millions and I'm able to give just $1, right? Yeah, Allah, is it even worth it? This $1? I feel shy giving this $1. The need is for millions and millions and millions of dollars, and I'm giving $1. That's all I have, or that's what I'm able to give, right? No, 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 no. We think the people are interested in accomplishments, not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at our efforts and our faith, and He never lets our efforts go to waste, right? This gives a believer clarity of what we are working towards. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to find joy in our efforts towards Him, right? Even if nothing works out the way we plan, none of the efforts have still gone to waste. Every single effort that any of us did, it is preserved with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as long as it is done with faith, right? Now, any day of our life is a success when we have some such efforts in it. We obeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have faith and we try to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We did not use His blessings in the way that He doesn't like, right? And even if I don't see any rewards now, like let's say I prayed all 5 salah during the day. Okay, I don't see nothing change. Tomorrow is the same day. Like tomorrow is the same struggles that I'm still facing. Now, what's the point? Has it made any difference? Has it been think like sometimes we might think like that, but even if we don't see any rewards now, this promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, even if you don't see any rewards of anything, if you don't see any difference from whatever you're doing, no change is happening. You're trying and you're trying and you're trying and you're trying and you're trying again and then again and then again and then again, but nothing is changing. But know that nothing is going to waste. Everything is saved with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how eloquently, how beautifully the Quran, what it does, it removes the ill effect of this campaign, the propaganda, the whispering campaign of the shayateen, of the hypocrites, which always try to demoralize the Muslims in general, and they were trying to demoralize the families of the martyrs in particular. The people who are shuhada, their families, they're trying to make them feel bad about it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, no, 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 no. They have a special status. And you as well. Don't think any of your efforts that, yes, you might be here, you might not have achieved Shahada, but whatever efforts you're doing, even if you didn't achieve the status of Shahada, whatever efforts you're doing, they're preserved with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And whatever efforts me and you are doing, they are preserved with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah ta'ala make us of those people who understand and who appreciate that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the opportunity to be on His path. He's given us this faith. He chose us. He chose me and He chose you to have faith in their heart, to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to try to do something, even if it's the smallest of the small, to try something for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to know that He will never let any of our effort, right? any of our effort, every single step that we take, every single worry that crosses our mind, every single fear that, Ya Allah, please preserve my faith. Don't let my faith go to waste. Everything that we are doing to spread His deen, to share His deen with others, every single effort that we're doing, everything is preserved with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us this strong conviction. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of the people of Jannah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of the people who are able to meet the shuhada in His path, all those who have gone before us and all those who are going today in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah ta'ala help us to meet them in Jannah. And may Allah ta'ala make us of those people that eat and drink from the pleasures of Jannah. May Allah ta'ala be pleased with us. May Allah ta'ala grant us afiyah, khair, barakah and afiyah. May Allah ta'ala grant us ease. May Allah ta'ala help us to be happy and grant us that ultimate happiness of being with Him and being provided by Him, and to gain His pleasure and to know that He'll always be pleased with us and never again if we have to worry about Him being displeased with us or us doing anything to ruin His pleasure for us. سبحانك اللهم أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. Just like Allah Ta'ala joined us as sisters in Islam in this world, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reunite us as sisters in Islam under the shade of His throne on the day of judgment, when there will be no shade except His, and then once again in Jannatul Firdaus. Any goodness that comes from today's talk is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Him alone, because He is the owner of all goodness. Any shortcomings, any mistakes are mine and mine alone, as I'm a human being and open to mistakes. May Allah Ta'ala forgive and still accept from all of us. Ameen ya Rahman Rahimeen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.